Okay, hello everybody. This is going to be a long video or a long series because this book is kind of a series made by u/I see opportunity 9 on Reddit. Okay, this book is called Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Mystery of Albert Sandy. Let's go. Monday. Today at lunch, Albert Sandy told us that his parents has gone away for a week and left him home alone. I wasn't really sure if this is true because Albert is known for spending lives like this. But then he said that since he was free from parental control, he was gonna throw a huge party at his place tonight. And this caught all the guys' attention. Apart from Greg, obviously. None of the girls seemed interested in the idea. I'm pretty sure because the party was being held on a school night and we had a lot of homework assigned. So I guess Albert's party is gonna be more of a stag night. One thing's for sure, I'm not going. I didn't even think of asking mom because I knew she wouldn't allow me to go. So I guess I'll just have to hear about it tomorrow. Tuesday. It looks like I won't be hearing about the stag nights today because none of the guys who seemed so hyped about it yesterday were at school today. Hey teacher, what does... Actually, scratch that. Guess who I saw at lunch today? Albert Sandy, the fat ass himself. I tried to ask Albert about party, but he seemed more interested in telling some other guys who hadn't gone that Elvis Presley had been discovered on the moon or something. That's stupid. I don't know what he's been reading, but I do have a feeling something's fishy with him. After school, I told Raul about Albert's party and how I thought he might be linked to those guys' disappearances. Fortunately, he decided to help me investigate Albert. Our investigation of Albert basically involved following him home so that we could know where he lived and what he did after school. Eventually, Albert went into a house I think was his. He disappeared for a few minutes before reappearing in the living room with a bag of chips, a bottle of root beer, and then he flopped down on the sofa and turned on a DVD. I thought he was watching a horror movie, but it turned out to be something much weirder. I won't exactly say exactly what Albert was watching, just in case mom ends up finding my journal. But I will say that I didn't know Albert was a yogurt fetishist. Damn. Oh, fetishists were even a thing. Anyways, anyways, Albert watched this video for I don't know how long, and it's every bit as unsettling as it sounds. To make matters worse, Albert opened the living room window, so me and Riley ended up hearing everything that he heard. I'm not saying that. I don't know how long we spent sitting there, but all Albert did. What did I do? Okay, it's back. But all Albert did was continue to watch those types of videos. Eventually, Rowdy said he had to go home because his mom was making dinner, so we bailed out. If Albert is really behind those boys' disappearances, then he sure hides that ability well. Wednesday, those boys didn't show up today either, so I told Rowdy that we should continue keeping an eye on Albert, as well as anyone else who could possibly be involved in a kidnapping. This involved pretty well all the troublemakers as well as Fregley, who was sitting on the floor like a bitch. Speaking of Fregley, I asked him what he spent the last 2 nights doing, and he said he's just been stabbing a kite with a stick. I guess that ruled him out as a kidnapper. Interesting. Then Rowley arrived and told me Albert was having another party, and this time he was inviting the girls. At first, I didn't know how he managed that since girls don't seem overly fond of him. Then I noticed Albert parading Bryce Anderson around the cafeteria, mainly because he attracts girls the same way light attracts moths. He's coming tonight. Actually, I'm not sure why Bryce accepted Albert's invitation, but I swear I later saw Albert reluctantly handing Bryce a wad of cash. Regardless, the fact that Albert is having two parties in the same week got me curious. I had an idea. Why not attend this party and find out what Albert was actually up to? Rowdy wasn't keen on my plan, but eventually I convinced him. Don't you want to know if the girls think you're cute? Uh, yes. This afternoon, I told mom that me and Rowdy were doing a science project. Fortunately, she believed me, which meant that I was able to Albert's party. Wow, this grammar is bad. So bad it's deteriorating my own grammar. After meeting up with Rowdy, I headed to Albert's, not knowing what to expect. As it turns out, Albert's party was completely out of control. I guess he didn't care what the other kids were doing to his house because they were pretty much destroying the whole place. Great, whoosh, and see, and the girls are just dancing in the corner. Strangely enough, I couldn't find Albert anywhere. I thought he'd be taking center stage because he organized the party, but he was nowhere to be seen. Then, Raleigh suddenly spotted something. I thought he had found Albert, but he was actually pointing at something else. It took me one moment to realize, but Raleigh was pointing at Holly fucking Hills. Yes, the girl I gave up on almost a year ago because she thought I was Fregley. I don't know why Rowley thought I still had a crush on her, despite me not mentioning her for a year. Then it dawned on me. Holly's the most popular girl in the class, so she probably gets a lot more gossip than I do. And she probably knows a little more than I do. I mean, if I don't ask her for this information, I'll have to ask Bryce. And Bryce is the biggest prick who ever lived, so I'd rather avoid him. Eventually, Holly stopped dancing and went to get some punch. It was at this moment that I decided to go and talk to her. Or rather, I shuffled towards her. This was the most awkward I felt all day, and I already talked to Fregsy. Get Fred, go get some play. Good thing Fregsy wasn't there to ruin everything. But I will admit, the first thing I said to Holly wasn't exactly what I would have wanted it to be. Excuse me, but do you know where Albert Sandy is? I haven't seen him since we left school. Greg sounded like a nerd. It only got more awkward from there, but I wouldn't blame Holly for the next thing she said. You look so different without your glasses, Fregley. Actually, I'm Greg Heffley, the Dancing Moms video's drummer brother, if you will. Now, why would you mention that, Greg? Why? I don't even know why I mentioned the last thing. But somehow it changed the entire conversation. Now we were only talking about how our older siblings were also in the same grade and all the pranks they have pulled on us. I never thought I would say this, but it was going great. At least, well, at least it was until Dennis Stannard arrived. I thought Dennis wanted revenge on me for not buying an old science project off him, for helping him land in summer school, and for getting him held back for a third time in a row. But it turns out he wanted something else. Excuse me, miss, could I have a dance? Actually, never mind what I just wrote. Dennis must have thought me and Holly were dating, and he was gonna fulfill his revenge by stealing her from me. Having already given up on Holly once, I certainly wasn't gonna lose her to some future car thief slash drug dealer. So without thinking, I grabbed a cupcake. I didn't hit his face like I intended to, but it was enough to make Dennis try and hit me back. Fortunately, his aim wasn't very good. However, things got worse from there. When the kid Dennis hit wiped the smashed cupcake off his face and said, "Everyone, food fight." As soon as he said this, all the boys began hurling whatever food they could find at each other. I bailed out at this point, along with the girls and Rowley. I wouldn't say I discovered any evidence to use against Albert, but I did clarify one thing with Harling, and I told her all about Albert's recent activities. So I guess that counts as a benefit. Thursday, I have no idea how the school's gonna stay open this week because none of the boys involved in the food fight showed up today. I guess they might have been hungover, but the boys who went to Albert's first party haven't showed up either. Once again, Albert showed up. Though since the guys he usually sits with are missing, he sat with Dennis, Denard, Ellie Glick, and various other sketchy people. Bigger the nose, the worse the eye. And now that guy, he's the worst. Then I remembered that Dennis had been to the party yesterday, and if all those guys who stayed for the food fight were missing and Dennis wasn't, then surely he was working with Albert. I have no idea what they're doing, but judging by the people Albert's working with, it's bound to be something illegal. And if I'm gonna find out what Albert's plan is, I'm gonna need some way to track his every movement. But since I don't have any classes with him, I need either Harley or Rowley to do this for me. Well, it turns out Harley has math with Albert, so I can ask her about what Albert does in class. After all, he must be doing something interesting. Okay,